Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to our third part in disease, chronic disease and inflammation, and what causes it, why it's multifactorial, and why the answer is one set of things you can do with your life. Let me quickly go through what happened the last few sessions so that everyone here becomes familiar with what we were talking about. We started, hold on. We started here. Food, inflammation, and chronic disease. And really the main thrust of this discussion is food. Throughout your vitamins, throughout your drugs, throughout surgeries, throughout short-term fixes for long-term problems. Only food and what you do with your body and your air and your water will save you. Food is medicine. We talked about that. We talked about first doing no harm. More harm comes from medicine than from not doing anything if you have chronic inflammatory disease. We talked about the diets that are espoused by the American Dietetics Association, the puritanical diet, the virtuous diet, the no salt, high fiber, low salt diet that tastes like cardboard. Your body tells you what it likes and what's nutritious for it by all your senses, and so you need to honor that. We talked about pornographic foods that this kind of a diet, the puritanical diet, pushes us towards. We talked about the 11 principles of food as medicine. This was one of the most important slides. And for those that did not attend previous sessions, I would recommend that you look at the videos from those sessions. We won't go into these right now because that would take another hour. But the key principles you got to remember: no refined foods, nutrient density, some animal food, even if you're a vegetarian, even if you're an ethical vegetarian, some animal food if you want to be well. And the benefits of enzymes and bacteria. Soften the foods that you eat that are hard to digest by soaking, sprouting, and doing processing in a gentle way as opposed to industrial way. Get your fats from saturated fats rather than polyunsaturated fats. More omega-3s, less omega-6s, and this should come from the diet, not from the fats. Use all your bones and teach. The main thing that has happened in the last few years is doctors are not allowed to speak up about the damage from vaccines, about the damage from drugs, about the damage from not using things like ivermectin. They're getting de-licensed, so you're not going to get good advice from these consultants. Only you can provide education to your future generation. So you carry a very heavy burden upon your shoulders. Not a burden, not a heavy burden, a large burden. And that burden you want to take very, very seriously. Good water, lacto-fermented foods, saturated fats, good, fresh, farm fresh things that don't have fertilizer, pesticide, herbicides on them, and master tonic. We all talked about fats. We talked about why fatty acids are important. Your brain is fat. Without your brain, you got nothing. Your heart is surrounded by a layer of nice saturated fat that keeps it insulated against shock, trauma. And if you're starving, your heart always needs to beat. It needs the fats. We talked about fatty acids. We talked about which oils contain what kinds of fats. We talked finally about membranes, the importance of membranes, the importance of cholesterol and fats in membranes, and why your intelligence is located in your membrane. It's not located in the cell, the nucleus of your cell. It's located in your membrane. And this is why the way you interact with Mother Nature, with the grass, with air, with water, with food, is the single most important thing in taking away chronic disease and inflammation. I know of people who had cancer, raging cancer, who just changed their lifestyles overnight, lived in the open, ate off the earth, and their tumors subsided, the cancers went away, and so on. So your body is very, very smart at healing itself. And that is the technique you need to apply to deal with chronic disease. We come now to the role of cell membranes. Why are cell membranes the brain of your body? And why should they be 50% saturated fats? So that you can maintain the integrity of these cell membranes. If they were made of olive oil or other polyunsaturated liquid oils, they would be floppy. When cell membranes are floppy, things don't flow right between the cell membranes. Food doesn't come in, ion exchange does not happen. Cholesterol channels are not there for the body to exchange molecules between intracellularly and extracellularly. The membrane potential, which is super important. There's so little we know about quantum physics and the energy that guides us and drives our body. The cell membranes contain potential of across the membrane, meaning there's a negative charge on one side and a positive charge on the other. And that's what makes substances flow. And when you stand on the ground, buck naked, I mean with your feet naked, you're picking up a negative charge that helps your cell membranes. Any questions?
Yes, the contact with the earth. I think that it's not only the feet, but other parts of the body which can contact and we can ground that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The more contact, the better. Lay down naked on the ground, on the beach, and in a body of water on the ground. That's the way to get charged, literally charged. Have you seen cats stretching? That's the piezoelectric effect, where by contracting their muscles, rubbing one muscle on the other, they're making electrical energy that invigorates them in the morning. When you wake up, that's where you're getting your charge, by stretching. So could everybody please stretch right now? Raise your arm. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Give yourself a good stretch. You just got potential. You got piezoelectric effect. And continue to do that throughout this, because you're sitting, you can move around, shake around like so. You just keep active to keep the membrane potential.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
I was just reestablishing my grounding mat in my bed, and it said you could have a really thin sheet over it and that would still give you the contact you need. And the thing is, I also have one just like that by my computer, so I can have my feet on that while I'm at the computer. So I'm grounding while I'm at the computer. Excellent. So just know that there are those mats, and you know, obviously they're debatable, but yeah. If
you live on the 12th floor, use the grounding mats, guys. But try and be in nature. Try and be in nature in the sun. It's beautiful out. How's the weather in Hawaii, ladies of Hawaii?
Well, it's here in Hilo, we have some cloudy skies, but the sun is peeking out, and the weather's been very nice and hot. And in the evening, though, in Hilo, we're well known for rain. So in the evening, probably at the time that you go to bed, we get the heavy rains. Anyway, where I live, which is up mountain, more mountainous, we get the heavy rain. So a lot of water. And during the day, it's nice and hot.
Nice. Wonderful. Sunny. Take advantage of it. Be there, guys. Be there.
Yeah.
So your cell membrane needs saturated fats to have integrity, 50%. Which are the fats that contain saturated fats? Any guesses, guys?
Well, the animal products.
Yeah. Stearic acid, tallow, lard, butter, coconut oil, on the plant side, palm oil, all saturated fats. The women of Kerala who cook with coconut oil have skins that glow. They glow like shining glass. That's how beautiful their cells are. Bones, saturated fats help you put calcium in the bones. We have been advised, our elderly have been advised to take lots of calcium pills and eat no fat. That's a recipe for disaster. Disaster. My next door neighbor just broke his hip. He's 82 years old, doesn't drink raw milk, doesn't eat any fats, thought he was healthy. He broke his first hip, and then got it fixed, was walking around, and then broke his second hip. My sense is his hip just spontaneously broke, and then he fell down. Without saturated fats, calcium cannot be metabolized into your osteoblasts, the cells that make bone. So everybody needs raw milk. They need saturated fats to put calcium in bones. You need to stop taking your vitamins, because the calcium pills, because they increase your chance of what?
Say the question again.
Calcium pills increase your chance of what by 40%? Anyone?
Reducing it increases the need for other nutrients that are not found in the pills.
That too. But
Kidney
we know,
stones.
stones, yes, absolutely. It causes the chance of heart disease to increase by 40%.
Now I'm having some of my saturated fat by eating my chicken feet right now. That's why.
Oh yes, saturated fat mixed with collagen is the best thing on earth. Best thing. Heart disease. Saturated fats actually lower the bad LPA, lipoprotein A, which is a true marker for heart disease. Saturated fats are the preferred fats for your heart. Your heart loves to burn saturated fats. It hates to burn sunflower oil or other polyunsaturated oils. It likes a coating of butter around it so it can help itself to fats as and when needed. Your liver, saturated fats protect the liver from being poisoned by all the drugs we're taking in and preventing hepatotoxicity. If you're on a low-fat diet and if you take a drug, it's going to have a 10 times more bad effect on your liver than if you are not eating fats. So your relatives who might be taking 5 pills a day, tell them, please at least eat some butter when you're taking those pills.
Is there anything that one should eat or take in while eating saturated fats, or before or after that?
Yes, and when you're taking saturated fats, you need to ensure that your gallbladder is working well. Many women have missing gallbladders, broken gallbladders, or gallstones from too much dieting, low-fat dieting, and so on and so forth. So you need to make sure you get enzymes and other things, probiotics that help you digest the fats.
Okay.
What you don't want is to drink down a gulp of saturated fat and having it come out the other way in diarrhea. If you suddenly start eating fats, that's what's going to happen. So remember, you're growing your garden slowly, gradually, with great thought. You're putting dahlias in one place, you're putting maple trees down in the other, a lemon plant. These things don't happen overnight. And with drugs, you're wiping out your ecosystem literally overnight, and it'll take years to grow it back. With saturated fats, you're actually feeding the bacteria in your gut, especially the short chain fatty acids, such as the butyric acid, the lauric acid, the smaller acids, the smaller 12 or less carbons. And what they're doing is they're feeding your gut bacteria, which are making serotonin, they're making dopamine, they're making your happy-making hormones and neurotransmitters. Your lungs need saturated fats. If you're an asthmatic, and I can speak as an ex-asthmatic, saturated fats are like magic. The fats that are present in raw milk are magical for lung function. My asthma went away. Kidneys need saturated fats, and kidneys are like a factory that detoxify. If you eat penicillin within 30 seconds, it's in your kidneys. That's how toxic penicillin is. And if your kidneys don't have enough saturated fats to protect them, it'll destroy your kidneys. Injections, aluminum, all these things are going through your kidneys, the barrage of toxins that you put into our body. The immune system is enhanced by saturated fats because they help to gum up pathogens. They prevent them from dividing and raising havoc in your body. So If you eat coconut oil, you don't get fungal infections, athlete's feet, warts, buboes, corns, things like that. So saturated fats are amazing for your immune system, and they're carried by your white blood cell system, your lymphocytes, into your body, and are directly utilized by your brain and other organs.
Question. It sounds to me like a strange question. I tend to do this, but is there a limit, or can we eat too much saturated fat?
There's a limit to everything you can eat. You can drink too much water and die.
Right.
You can eat too much saturated fat and die. And that's where being in tune with your body is very important. Your body will tell you, hey, enough, I've had enough fat. Now I need some vegetables or some broth, or I'm done. And with fats in particular, the satiety signals are very clear. You can't eat more than a small amount of fat. You just don't feel hungry anymore. If I were to eat a stick of butter, or half a stick, I could eat half a stick of butter, no problem. Afterwards, I'd say after about half a stick, can't eat anymore. Carbohydrates are very different. They did a prisoner study, because back in the day, you could do prisoner studies that were unethical. They fed half the prisoners spaghetti, 10,000 calories of carbohydrates, and half of them a high-fat diet. And they saw that in the high-fat diet prisoners, they got full very fast. So they never overate. Whereas in the carbohydrate eating prisoners, they could eat 10,000 calories and still be hungry. So your body needs to guide you on eating the right amount of fats.
I have another question, or something I keep learning, and that's the rate with which I feed my body. How fast I eat. Do I breathe when I eat? Because then my body has more of a chance of telling me what I need or don't need. Very,
very good point. Many people, you brought up a very good point, drink raw milk, and if they drink it fast, they get loose motions. If they sip it, they don't. So even though it's liquid, think of it as food and sip it slowly. Eat slowly so that you're interacting with your body as the food goes down, and your body says, yeah, I think I've had enough. If you gobble down food, that doesn't occur. Good, very good point.
And chew your liquids.
Yes, chew your liquids. That's right. Chew them. Yes. Saturated fats detoxify the body's detox mechanism. And now I just wanted to go around the room and have everyone say what sort of saturated fats they have eaten in the last year or so. And start with Renee. Renee.
Raw milk.
Raw milk has saturated fats. Anything else that you?
Butter.
Butter. There you go. Kai. Land.
Butter, raw milk, liver, beef, occasional chicken. What else do I eat? Fat, saturated fat. I think that's all that comes to mind right now.
Okay, Carol.
So chicken, beef, avocado.
Excellent. Sunshine.
Yep. Raw milk, butter, avocado. My chicken foot soup, boy, that's filled with saturated fat. Let's see. Other things, but I think that's the main ones. Yeah.
Okay. Tori, you need to unmute, love.
Coconut oil, beef, the fat in the saturated fat in beef, and olive oil.
Olive oil is monounsaturated.
Okay.
Yeah, so but it does have saturated fats. Try and eat more butter, more maybe beef tallow or beef, fatty cuts of beef, but those are great. That's awesome. Claudia.
Well, I'll start with one nobody's mentioned, ghee,
Mhm.
and plenty of butter and coconut oil. And I have at least a big chunk of avocado every day. And occasionally I have some beef chicken or I get once in a while one of the fatty fishes here too. But I'm definitely a big fan of raw milk cream too. So there you go.
Mm. Oh, you lucky thing. All right, Vidya, what do you eat for saturated fats?
Ghee, then coconut oil and coconut, and
Mm,
sometimes avocados, but not on a very regular basis. But the
wonderful.
oil and ghee.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. You guys, by doing that, you are paying homage to your cell membranes, your bones, your heart function, your liver, your lungs, your kidneys, your immune system, and detoxifying. Fatty acids help to hold poisons inside them and safely detoxify them. Do you know how much Roundup we're getting? We think we're eating clean, but even by walking in parks and such, we're getting pesticides and herbicides and poisons. Saturated fats keep us from falling sick from these dreadful poisons that surround us.
A brief question, and actually a couple of additions. I too like avocados regularly and ghee. When I say butter, I just all the forms. But do oysters have fatty acids?
Yes, they have cholesterol. They're very rich in cholesterol, and it's very assimilable, and they're very fatty. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
good. Okay, I like those and eat them. Yeah.
Eat
I
more
think
oysters.
Calais still needs to come up. You may have mispronounced your name. She didn't hear it.
Oh,
Calais.
Calais. Okay, Calais. Sorry, I
Calais.
mispronounced it again.
Sorry, my English name is up there, but it's Calais, K-A-L-E-I.
Calais.
Thank you.
What do you eat?
I eat a lot of Irish butter
Mm.
from Ireland. I love it. I eat coconut oil for sure every single day. Cheese. I love my cheese and beef stew gravy because I eat a lot of beef stew gravy because I cook it with a lot of fat.
Mm.
And I wanted to ask about the pork rinds, the pork skin that
You're
they.
fabulous. You're getting collagen and you're getting fats from good
Okay.
pork. Pork rinds are amazing.
Yeah, I eat that as well. It's popular in Hawaii.
Wow. I wish I could go to Hawaii and eat your pork rinds.
Well, you're welcome to come anytime. Just hop on the plane.
And do it. All right.
What is
We'll pick
Irish?
you up.
What is Irish butter? I don't know that.
It's Kerrygold, I think.
Yeah, but why is it called Irish?
It's from Ireland.
It's from Ireland, from the
Okay.
Irish cows.
Okay.
True
Great.
And the
Irish.
best, and Susham, I just want to interject. One of the best butters that I learned about comes from New Zealand, Aotearoa, and that's one of the very best. They come in cans,
Mhm.
in big round cans, and you have to, of course, open it with a can opener. But the butter is so dark yellow. And evidently they said something about how the cows in New Zealand, when they graze and the type of grass that they're eating. So it's kind of, it's highly prized and it's not easy to get if you can even get it. I had a cousin that was a flight attendant and that was one of her stops in New Zealand. So she would bring it back for me.
I see. I see. Oh, that's awesome. The
Yeah.
one thing to remember in fats is you want them as low processed as possible, as raw as possible. And so that's one thing to remember. Try not to get highly pasteurized fats or processed fats. All right. What does butter contain, or any fat, animal fat for that matter? Vitamin A, D, K, and E. A, D, K, and E, which are not all present in plant fats. What's the only thing contained in plant fats? Which vitamin?
And D.
Oh, no, that's animal only.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's E. Yes, yes. It's mixing
Only
this.
E.
Yeah, thank you.
Plant fats contain only E. You need A, D, K, and E.
Right.
It's got copper, zinc, chromium, selenium, iodine, conjugated linoleic acid, which are critical and the enzymes in our body, which help us digest foods better, which help us digest proteins better, which help fuel our brain. And the shorter chain fatty acids can just be metabolized. They're like rocket fuel by the bugs in our body and on our skin and by our bodies.
Is there a difference in quality between butter and ghee, other than the milk fat being removed?
If the butter is raw, it is markedly superior because the ghee is being cooked. Remember, you're using ghee because you are preserving the butter by taking out the proteins and giving it a higher shelf life. But if you do it at low enough temperatures, you will preserve the trace elements, you'll preserve the cholesterols, the glycosphingolipids. You will not preserve the Wilson factor, which is destroyed by pasteurization. So if you have arthritic joints, ghee will not fix you, but raw butter will.
Thank you.
The fatty acid composition will not change between cooked and raw butter. So those will be intact. So if you can find raw butter, eat giant chunks of raw butter. If you have a hard time, eat ghee, but please try and eat saturated fats.
Any update? I know it's an extra item, but any update on the source of butter that we got from these last few years?
Yes, I have a sad update to give you, and that is Larry sold his creamery. There's a lot of struggle and strife. I'm trying to work out an arrangement where we go to him directly for the butter from his own cows, which are fabulous and on pasture, but it's going to be smaller quantities. So it's going to, we can't do, I don't think we'll be able to do 7,000 pounds next year out of Larry's 300 or 400 cows. So we have to figure it out, but it was such a big problem that I decided to not think about it until next year.
Okay, good.
But please don't give your butters away. Keep them with yourself. Salt them away. Okay. Why is salt needed? You need sodium chloride to give you hydrochloric acid, the chlorine part in your stomach. If you're on a low salt diet, and I actually saw this, I went on one at one time because someone who is a dietitian advised me that I was eating too much salt and I got pinworms. I had low stomach acids. Salt helps you have hydrochloric acid, which you need for protein digestion. You need salt for carbohydrate digestion, for brain development in children, because the unrefined salt has 80 other trace minerals and elements that you need in your body. And it is critical in cellular metabolism because inside your membrane you have potassium, outside you have sodium. Without sodium, you're dead.
A question about sodium, two questions actually. The first one has to do with I'm eating something that I've salted or has salt in it. And then soon afterwards, I have a sip of water with no salt. Does that salt effect transfer into the liquid?
Yes, yes. In your body, that salt and the liquid, they're all going to mishmash together and your body will figure out how much salt to throw out and how much salt to keep.
And the second question is salt in tea. It doesn't appeal to me, but when I drink my tea, I don't have salt in it.
Question, you have salt. You add salt to your tea?
I do not.
Okay.
It does not appeal to me, but I want to have any comments about that.
I have never heard of anyone putting salt in their tea, but if it, by all means, do what appeals to you. I have seen a Malaysian tea called baku tea, a Chinese tea where tea is mixed with a broth which has salt in it, but never tea with salt. But by all means, if you're dehydrated and you drink a tea with salt in it, why not? Hey, I'm open to
Sushama.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a little story about my father. He went to a restaurant on Maui and they, breakfast ordering, and he had a big cup of coffee. So he started to pick up the bottle of salt and open the top and pour it into his coffee. So the waitress came running over to him. No, Mr. Sir, that's not sugar. That's not sugar. And she tried to stop him and she's trying to say it's not sugar. And he says, yeah, I put salt in my coffee. My father put salt in his coffee. All the time.
Okay, now we know.
All right.
I was wrong. There are people.
Was that okay? Was that
Yeah,
okay?
perfectly okay if it floats his boat, if he
Yeah.
can digest it. But it has to be not refined, but unrefined salt.
Mm.
And judge it by your body satiety, how your body feels.
Mm.
Thirst, salt consumption, and never drink straight water, guys. The advice of drinking 8 cups of water a day is baloney, phony baloney. Too many athletes have died from overhydrating. What you do
Oh.
when you add water, so much water to your body, is you're diluting the minerals in your body. And when that happens and your body takes out all that excess water, it also takes out your minerals, and you can literally die from overwatering.
Big question about adding things. When I have a fast, I add, in addition to salt, the potassium chloride. I want to know why during fasting we have potassium chloride, but when normal drinking we do not.
Oh, because you're getting potassium from other foods. In
Ah,
fasting, yeah, in fasting, you're getting the key elements: potassium for the inside of your cell, sodium for the outside of your cell, through salt and potassium chloride.
got it. Thank you.
And where do you get potassium chloride?
On Amazon. Food
Ah,
grade, Morton's food grade, get a pound, it's like $5-10, something like that. When you're fasting, it's a good idea to get some salt and potassium chloride and lemon, apple cider vinegar in your water.
You've
That's
given
gonna-
us, I'm sorry, you've given us proportions or amounts to add. How critical, how crucial is that, the amounts you add?
Not critical. You can add, increase or decrease it. Just don't add too much potassium chloride, I would say.
Okay.
Vidya,
yes.
you had a question?
Yeah. I wanted to know, in the market, they give iodized salt, but when we take the sea salt, it's not iodized. So what's the difference in that then?
Yes,
And
because
and how the market salt is bad, because I think they have the anti-kicking agent. But then I use either the Himalayan salt or the rock salt while cooking. But then what about the iodine
yes,
component of that?
yes, you
That
get
whether
iodine.
I'm-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Table salt, refined table salt is iodized because they started refining the salt and taking out every precious mineral like magnesium, selenium, chromium, and all that, and sold it at far higher prices. So the salt that is left is pure sodium chloride, which is indigestible. And it used to have trace elements of iodine as well. So then they said, oh, gee, there's goiter everywhere in the middle of the country, the plains, where iodine was stripped out of the soil. Let's add iodine to the table salt. And so that's how that started. It is toxic to add iodine to table salt. You want to eat unrefined salt, which contains 80 trace minerals. And it's literally, it's sweet. It's not salty, it's sweet. It has all these other things. And you want to get iodine from your food, seaweed, the spices you eat. A lot of them are very rich in iodine. Potatoes can be rich in iodine. And if you don't get it from food sources, eat Lugol's iodine. A couple of drops in your daily water should suffice for the family. But
Okay.
iodine is an important critical mineral that your body needs. And if you have chronic disease of any sort, it's a good thing to add some iodine to your diet, but not through table salt.
Okay. Thank you.
All righty. So salt is not bad. The American Dietetic Heart Association tells you to eat 1/2 gram of salt. That increases all-cause mortality by many, many times. You will die if you eat less salt. If you eat about 2 grams per day of sodium, that's a wonderful sodium chloride. That's a wonderful thing. That's about 2 teaspoons of salt per day. And most of us, you know, if you're on draconian diets, don't eat salt at all. That's terrible. You're also getting salt from your food, so try and get it from your food.
Without going anywhere into depth, do you know, can you say a word or two about why the low salt diet has been recommended?
The low salt diet has been recommended, I suspect, primarily because people were eating exactly what your dad was at the restaurant. Refined table salt which is sodium chloride, which is toxic to the body. Salt, again, just like vitamin C has to come from an orange, salt has to come from its unrefined counterpart and mediated by other minerals and elements that make it metabolizable. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All righty. How are we doing for time? It's 11 o'clock. We're good. Okay. So we keep talking about this, but we're gonna go around the room and see who is eating these first fast foods: raw milk, raw butter, raw cream, salad dressing, where you make your own with real cold pressed oils, coconut oil, or olive oil, fermented cabbage, meat broths that are 1 to 4 hours with meat with amino acids in them, and the bone broths, which are long boils that are boiled for 2-3 days, but that don't have fats, because fats cannot be boiled for 72 hours, guys. So there's technique in this, but you got to master it, and it's very easy. Liver pate, and so on. So any of these foods, please, could you comment which of these you eat in your everyday life? Starting from Sunshine.
Which raw foods?
Raw milk, raw butter, raw cream, salad
Raw
dressing.
milk, raw butter. I just stopped at the butcher at Good Earth, who knows me, and he had just gotten in the beef heart and the liver, and he sliced it thinly for me so that I can salt it and either cure it or just have it raw as it is with, you know, whatever seasoning. Yeah.
Nice. Claudia.
All of the above.
Fantastic. Renee.
Calais. Is it Calais?
Renee, you will need to unmute, my dear.
The raw milk, butter, the fermented cabbage, the meat broth, the bone broth, the liver is cooked.
Awesome. Tori, you'll need to unmute, my friend.
Yeah, not so many of them at the moment, because of just some reactions that I'm having. But yeah, before it used to be the raw milk, bone broth, and just a little bit of liver. I was just starting to get used to having some liver.
Okay. What are you eating currently? What's your food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Mostly quite high protein, but as you said last time, I started introducing some more carbohydrate, particularly just before the evening. So it's a very, very plain diet at the moment with cauliflower, broccoli, sometimes a little bit of cabbage or Brussels sprouts with some protein, usually some beef.
Okay, and the beef is fatty, right?
Beef is very fatty, yeah.
Awesome. Vidya.
Fermented beets. And the milk I'm trying to get, but they told me that it's summer, so they'll start now in November. And I had a doubt about that meat broth and bone broth. So you said it is 1 to 4 hours. I just wanted to know what it is. Like,
you take a chicken, you throw it in water, 2.5 hours later, you have a broth that is rich in the proteins from the chicken, amino acids. So that's a meat broth. So you're basically making a soup out of the meat. Then you take away the meat and just take the bones, and you boil the bones without the fat, defatted bones, for a longer boil to get the minerals out of the bone. You follow me? So if you boil the amino acids too much, they turn into glutamine, and not so good. Whereas the bone broth can be cooked for a long time to get the minerals out of the bone. So you're getting 2 different types of things from the broths. If you have a sick patient in your house, you give them meat broth. Okay. If you're trying to heal bones and joints, you give them bone broth.
Okay. So bone broth is also for the gut, right?
Yes.
Gut
Definitely.
healing?
Yeah.
So you take the meat and boil it and then after 3 hours, you remove the flesh, the meaty part, and the bones can continue for 72 hours, 12 to 72. So that will be bone broth,
Correct, correct.
right? Okay, okay.
And both have different medicinal qualities.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
All right, next person was, did I get everybody? Sunshine spoke. Did Sunshine speak? Yes, she
Yep,
did.
yes, yes.
Land.
Yeah, I eat everything there except raw cream and liver. I still have a problem with it. I had some in the fridge. I had to cut it really, really thin, and I salted it, and I tried it after 2 days, and then I tried it after 7 days, and it's still way, way, way too tough for me to chew and digest. So I cook it lightly.
Okay.
I haven't made a meat broth in a while, but I have a question about it. If I put in a chicken, for instance, and then I cook it 1 to 4 hours, is the meat, the chicken meat, if I'm saying chicken, is that edible or good to eat, or rather than
Very good question, guys. Very good question. At about 2 hours, when you pull it out, the chicken's edible. At 4 or 5 hours, it tastes like cardboard.
Okay. Great.
So-
Any thoughts about the liver? This is something I've experimented with a while. I guess the one I haven't done, which you just suggest, or at least I see on your list, is diced into hamburgers, omelets, and so on. So I have not tried that. I've not done that.
That's a fabulous way to eat it because it makes meatloaves and hamburgers moist and delicious and rich, and you don't taste the liver.
Great. Okay.
And you've got to
I'll,
make,
I'll jump in and say I'm a big fan of liver pate. That's half butter, half liver, with some onions and garlic and herbs and maybe a little brandy. And it's great.
Okay, good. Thank you.
also make sure you get rid of the, what's that called? It's not the
membrane.
Membrane. Because
That's
that's what
that's
makes it really tough.
Yeah. And guys, I would encourage you to be adventurous. Try the kidneys, try the testicles, try the heart, try the intestines. They contain things that our heart, intestines, etc., kidneys are made of. And the way to get the bad taste out is to dunk them in water, in milk. If you dunk kidney in milk, it doesn't taste quite as hairy, or liver in milk, it tastes a lot better.
So Sushma, I also bought a tongue when I was at Good Earth. So what, other than for speaking better or whatever, what else is it good for? Tongue good for?
Is tongue? Oh my God, tongue is so
I know,
good.
it's so delicious.
Yes, you found tongue at the store. Oh, I'll go get
He
you.
saves it for me if I let him know that I want it. Yeah.
But tongue does need to be cooked for a long time, 2 hours, and then it turns into this tender morsel of exquisite delight.
And just to let you know what I discovered with the tongue, my mom used to dip it into hot water to peel off the outer skin. I cooked it with its outer skin and all. It's like cooking it in its envelope. And then it peeled off so easily and everything was juicy inside.
Yeah, that's how I cook mine. I don't peel it off before.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I just clean the tongue very thoroughly and then I boil it for 2 hours, and oh boy, it's so good.
I bought some chicken livers the other day, and I haven't had them in a very, very long time. So I'm wondering if it's something that I should treat as same as it says liver here, or do I cut it into small pieces and that kind of stuff?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, Kylie.
Clay.
Kalei.
Yeah, okay, so fermented cabbage, the beef meat broth, the bone broth, I use that a lot. So I haven't been able to get the raw butter yet, or the raw cream. I will. Claudia's trying to help me on that. I don't care for liver, so
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry to say. Yeah, sorry to say I'm not going to go there. But I have a question. Here on the Hawaii Island, we have ranchers. And so I know that my father was a cowboy many years ago, but when they round up the cattle and they do branding, they would castrate the cattle, and the cowboys would eat the
testicles.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is that another item to?
It's absolutely wonderful. It's so rich and so
And they eat it
nutrient rich.
raw, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. I eat raw testicles sometimes too when I get them. Like when we do a whole animal, we get every part and we eat it all. Brains,
Wow.
testicles, yeah, they're delicious. And they're like scallops almost. If you take the membrane off or even not and slightly fry them, they're delicious.
Yeah, they my husband's family, they used to do that all the time because they're from Waimea, which is cowboy country on this island, and they always have you know, roundups and branding. So whenever they did that, they would castrate and then they would bring it home and they would eat it or eat it up there. They'd throw it on an open fire and eat it right there, or bring it home and prepare it. So you know, they would come home, they came home and they would call it mountain oysters.
Yes.
That's the nickname they use. So they came home and said, "Oh, we're gonna cook some mountain oysters, Auntie. Want some?" And I said yes, not knowing what the heck it was. So anyway,
That's a wonderful story. And, you know, that's what our ancestors did. They didn't waste stuff.
no.
And
they
the
didn't.
stuff that we waste today is the most nutrient dense stuff. The meat is the stuff that the lions leave out. When they kill their prey, they go for the liver first, then the heart, and then they leave the muscle meat to the hyenas and such. So
Wow.
guys, we have it backwards. We have it backwards. Organ meats first, everything else later. If you're not a meat eater, eat organ meats, and then you can skip the muscle meat.
I would think if we don't get organs from animals that are normally or naturally raised, that it could be a real harm to us to eat them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So don't get organs from diseased animals, but generally you can eyeball them. A diseased animal's liver is very different than a healthy animal's. And don't forget, these are detoxification organs, but the poisons are not collecting there, they're passing through. So in any animal that is healthy, you will see a liver that's blood red, dark red. In an animal that's unhealthy and has fatty liver disease, it'll be an orangey liver. So learn to discriminate and don't shun organ meats of animals that you suspect have not been totally organic and all that. If they look good, they probably are good. Carol, tell us about your fast food. Easy first fast foods.
Oh, I thought you were going to pass by me.
I see ya.
I'm the bottom of the pile here. I make my salad dressing of olive oil and what do you call it? Bragg's
Apple
vinegar.
cider, yeah.
Apple cider vinegar. And I eat fermented cabbage. I eat coleslaw every day. Every day I eat cabbage.
Okay.
So I eat fermented cabbage because I pour the Bragg's apple cider vinegar on it.
Okay. Okay. Do you eat any fermented foods at all, such as yogurt?
I can't take any dairy at my age. I used to eat yogurt every day and I can't even do that anymore. And part of it is that the acidophilus stuff that they used to put in it, they don't put that stuff in there anymore. The good stuff, they don't put it anyway, but I can't take any dairy at all.
I see. I see. You know, to my mind, coleslaw is cabbage, and that's wonderful. Apple cider vinegar is a fermented vinegar, but it is an acid. You need something fermented to help your gut biota. And if you can abide sauerkraut, you can buy it from Trader Joe's or Costco, raw unpasteurized sauerkraut. Can you eat that without a problem?
I used to buy it at Costco, and you're reminding me, and I will start to buy it again. And the way I adapted to it, I don't know there's a green jar and a red jar. I don't know what the difference is, but I would just take 1 or 2 pieces before I would eat my meal, so I wouldn't even know that I had it.
Good, good, yes.
I'm going to jump in. Most of the things that you find in a jar have been pasteurized and no longer have the probiotics, because otherwise the jars would explode. And if you give yourself a little bit of time, and making sauerkraut is the greatest introduction into a very addictive hobby. So I highly recommend people at least try to do some batches of sauerkraut. There's plenty of instructions on the web, and it's just the easiest ferment. I've taught little kids through older people. I'm a big nut for teaching people fermenting, so I just had to speak up. Thank you. Thank you.
I second that. But if you can't do it, go to Trader Joe's, look for the word raw, unpasteurized cabbage. And if you can't abide the taste of it straight, add it to your coleslaw. And that's a great trick. Hide this stuff in the food that you normally eat and it'll become palatable.
Hide it in your salad.
Or salad.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
idea.
I've been reading about the so-called alkaline diet as opposed to acid. And it has to do, I think, with the vegetables or the nutrients that are in that diet. But I'm wondering if you have any information you could share with us about that.
So the blood alkalinity is maintained in a very, very narrow range. And there's some merit to alkaline and non-alkaline diets and so on. But if you're eating these things, I guarantee you, your inflammation will subside, your joints will feel better, your heart will feel better, and your blood chemistry will sort itself out. It just needs to be an everyday part of your regular life, all your life.
Right. Thank
And
you.
the thing is, these are they're no shortcuts, but these are such easy and tasty foods that there should be no problem eating these. And we don't think of food as medicine, but these are literally medicines that'll keep you from having joint problems, from breaking your hips, from cracking your bones, from getting ankle sprains. A meat broth is magical. There was this woman who survived the Holocaust, and she was elderly, over 100 years old, and she used to teach music. And all she did was throw a chicken in the pot, and she was very elderly and lived by herself. Threw a chicken in the pot, and that was her broth, her meat, her bones with vegetables in it. And she lived a long and very, very healthy life.
I read recently that chocolate is fermented.
Yes, the chocolate beans are fermented before they are rendered, but chocolate also contains caffeine. It has some addictive substances. Coffee likewise is fermented. Tea leaves are fermented. Lots of things are fermented. What you want is the probiotics. And these are super easy first foods to do this with. Are there any questions? Any questions from anyone about these things or why we should be eating them?
I have a question. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. A question about, there was I'm not sure who it was. I think it might have been Claudia. Somebody mentioned about making liver pate. And I was wondering, I think I heard them say they used raw butter, but I'm not sure. Do you not use raw cream in it? Or what's the best? Is there somebody have a slightly a nice recipe for making a liver pate?
Yes, so there's two things here. There's a cooked recipe and there's a raw recipe. For people who hate eating liver straight, the raw recipe is actually fantastic. You simply food process liver with mushrooms, butter, or a raw butter or raw cream, and process it so it's a smooth paste, and add some, fragrances or spices or whatever you want to it, salt. And then you eat it on top of things, on top, like a dollop on soups, on your meats, in your salads, however. Or you eat it like medicine, 2 tablespoons every day. Put it in an ice cube, put it all in ice cubes, and eat an ice cube of liver pate every day. Then there's a cooked recipe where you saute, as Claudia said, onions, garlic, and mushrooms, and rosemary, tons of butter and liver, saute it lightly, process it. That's absolutely delicious. Also.
Thank you. How long does the raw liver pate last in the fridge?
For a long time. I mean, I've had it last for a few weeks at a time. Cover it up with melted butter. It'll last. Or freeze it. You could also freeze it forever.
Thank you.
Question about meat broth. I've made chicken as a meat broth, but what I've never thought of using, or haven't thought much about using meat, which is not chicken, and making a broth of it. Any guidelines or thoughts on that?
Yeah, take your hunk of meat or a ham hock or whatever and put it in water. boil it slowly on a low simmer, and it'll turn into the most delicious. And if you, especially if you get a bony, meaty chunk, you'll
Rib.
have gelatin, you'll have fat, amino acids. It's so good. So good.
Okay.
Ribs, oxtail. all those things.
Ribs, yes. So good.
Oxtail is great.
Mm.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so
Mhm.
if you, I used to get, the ham hock and make pea soup with, vegetables. So does that interfere with it being a beef broth if you put all that other stuff in it?
No, that's the best thing you could make. A ham hock
Pork-
with pea soup. It's
pork
God's
broth.
food for mankind. Make
Get-
it and eat it. Make it and eat it.
I
Get
used
a
to do,
pig. Get a good pig.
get a good pig.
Yeah, because a lot of the pigs are raised by Chinese growers now that are
Oh,
not
Yeah.
not doing very
Right.
good things with their animals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so get a
So-
pasture. Get a pastured pig or lamb or a goat or
so
Yeah.
Sunshine, are you saying like go to Good Earth or,
Yes.
okay.
I have a question about something that I haven't had in quite a while, except for salmon, and it's fish or seafood
Mhm.
on any of the lists. And I was wondering, I think you've recommended or talked positively about salmon in the past.
Absolutely. Any fish is good fish. As raw as possible. If you don't like it raw, saute lightly. And we have extra fish to give away to people. I'll try and see if I can come down there and bring some to folks.
Wonderful. Okay.
All right, so these are your easy first fast foods. And the reason we spent, 15, 20 minutes talking about this is these are not foods, they're medicine.
Yes.
Oh, Susham, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so it's the easy for first fast food. So would, Lan brought it up. Would the fish or raw fish be part of that?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Okay,
Raw
because in
fish,
Haw-
yeah.
Go ahead.
You're in Hawaii, you have fish skeletons after carcasses, after the fish has been taken out, the muscle meat has been taken out, use those to make a delicious, fragrant fish bouillabaisse with saffron in it. It's just divine. There's nothing as healthful and wonderful as a fish broth. I should add that here.
Yeah, that's popular in Hawaii. I think the Filipinos, they made a fish broth, but they call it patis, which is fermented the whole thing. If you can find it homemade, that's great, but most often they buy it in the stores. But raw fish in Hawaii is prevalent. I mean, we eat it pretty much every day, 2 or 3 times a day. Yeah.
That's so wonderful. Yes,
Yeah,
I should say
raw.
local, guys. Whatever is locally available is your food of choice.
One thing I get that's local, although it's delivered locally to a supermarket, Andronico's in San Francisco, and it's elsewhere. But I get I think it's called a rack or the fish spine. They also have heads and collars and that kind of stuff for salmon.
Mhm.
And I take the spines and it can take this with a very brief light cooking, can
Mhm.
take the salmon off of the bones, and then I put the bones back in to make a broth, a bone broth.
Nice, nice. What a good idea. You cook it a little bit, the bones come out clean. Yep.
Yeah.
Clever, clever. All right. Anyone have any other questions on these foods that are sacred medicines?
Yes.
Please.
Can we ferment pineapple?
Absolutely. The Mexicans do it all the time. They
Okay, how do we
ferment
do
pineapple.
it?
You take pineapple rinds with a generous amount of pineapple attached to them, put them in water, add some salt maybe, and leave it on your counter until it ferments. It's an absolutely delicious drink whose name I'm spacing out. I'm spacing out, but it's
While you're thinking about it, I was given some beautiful organic pineapple, but it's cut up and there's no rind.
that's more difficult because then it'll ferment into vinegar, more likely to ferment into vinegar.
It's called tepache.
Tepache. Yes, I have made tepache and I loved it.
One other thing, my mom used to take the fat off of the chicken before she would make her soup and so on. And she would kind of like we do with the ghee on a low temperature, she would cook it and she would end up having the chicken fat and what she called in Hungarian gribana, which is like the pork rind, but it's of the chicken.
Ooh, schmaltz. So she made schmaltz, yeah.
Yeah, but how, I mean, I don't, I mean, she only cooked it, had to cook it about an hour or two. Would that be too much cooking for the
no, it's the same as making ghee. You render
Yeah.
the chicken fat to make schmaltz. The only problem with chicken is they're industrial. So many of the chickens are.
No, I mean, if you get good ones.
If you get good ones, you can make schmaltz, and that's absolutely delicious. It's like duck fat, goose fat.
Yeah, that's what she would do. Okay.
That's beautiful. Anybody else? Any ideas?
Sushama, I just wanted to ask, because my father used to do this with pineapple. He used to make what they call swipe, or I think the other thing people may know it, it's, I guess, alcohol to drink. So they called it swipe, but he would use pineapples and make that. And then, but it was powerful because if you just drank one little jigger, you got drunk really fast.
Oh,
But see, I'm from the island of Molokai, where they had, the industry there was pineapples. And my father worked in the pineapple fields, picking pineapple and stuff like that. So what he did, he figured out how to make what they call swipe, which is like a drink, an alcohol drink. Would that be okay?
That would
Ferment
be,
it?
yes, you can ferment it to the point of vinegar. When it starts to turn into alcohol, it starts to lose its medicinal properties. And so a lot of cultures, you know, they had it fermented, it turned to booze, and then people would turn into alcoholics. And so every culture has its toddy, its whiskey, malt, which is various plant foods, vinegared and then fermented to alcohol.
Okay.
so if I use it when it's at the vinegar stage, I can use it in salad dressing, couldn't I?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It makes a
okay.
fabulous salad dressing.
Okay. You know, I'm going to be needing to leave sometime soon. I'm waiting to hear from them that they're coming to take the bed. But I wanted to say something that I've been told. I don't know if any of you listened to Catherine Austin Fitz.
I have.
But she really speaks highly of the Weston A. Price, and she's going to be at the conference. And then, and she speaks very highly of Sally Fallon. And one advice that she has been given for these past 2 weeks in her podcasts is, if you are doing a medical examination, or, you know, whether it be by computer or in person, they seem to now be asking one question that seems very important to them is, are you depressed? Are you anxious? And the thing is, what she's saying is, absolutely do not say yes, even if you are, because they're using that supposedly to be able to say, oh, this person is not capable of dealing with their finances. We better take it over so we can take care of it for them. She was very involved with finances, with government.
Right.
Oh,
I remember
so
that now. Yes.
Yeah, so she said this as a warning, and I just want to say this to people, because then her other partner, the lawyer involved in this podcast, said, absolutely. It was interesting on her last exam. They kept saying, you must be depressed with what's going on. And she said, no, you know, like, don't say yes. Don't say yes.
Very good point. Very good point. Guys, what Sunshine is saying is so important, because in the legislature, California legislature, we just passed a bill that allows the government to de-license doctors who give out this health information, who
Did he
say,
sign it?
yeah, signed into law. The doctors are not going to tell you anymore that COVID vaccines are dangerous, side effects from COVID vaccines, they can get fired from their jobs.
So
they talk
Newsom
about
has not vetoed it. He had a veto until the end of the year, of the month.
A
possible.
chance to, he had a chance to
It passed.
veto or sign it.
The delicensing bill has passed, but we will, I mean, we'll continue to fight it. But
Uh,
what I'm saying is, if you have anxiety, no one's gonna tell you to eat saturated fats. They are,
Yeah.
so talking to doctors and other licensed professionals is not going to get you the health answers you need. That's a very
Yeah.
good
Mhm.
point.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm going to stop the recording and we can have a short discussion. Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.